do everything to make sure that we're successful about that, because pensions, people work. How many people have worked here 10, 15, 20, whatever number of years and are looking forward to a life with some decent, and we're not talking about a lot of money, right? You know, the average public worker's pension is around $17,000, and people are jealous about that, right? That's crazy. The other thing that you did, in spite of all these attacks coming at you, you worked with your members at the community college to stand up for those workers at the community college who weren't being treated fairly and to help them get a voice. And you deserve a big round of applause. In the midst of, you could have said, we're just taking care of me. You could have said, we're just taking care of who we got. But you understand that we can't let injustice occur, we can't let people work for nothing, and that our movement can't get stronger unless it gets bigger. So we have to keep on getting people into our union. So I want to thank you for all of that incredible work. And I was going to tell you a little story about it. I'm going to cut this short because I think Diana did an incredible job talking through the fight for a fair economy and some of the issues that we're facing. But I want to just try to frame it and to put it in context in terms of what it means for public workers, and then talk about what's at stake and what do we need to do about it. Because I do think what John said earlier is, okay, we got to talk about worksite issues too, right? I mean, that's how many of us got involved in the union. I got involved in the union because there was no heat, right? There was no heat in the office, and we organized a walkout and we got heat. But we also know that if we don't fight for workers to have a voice, and now our collective bargaining is being threatened, and if we don't fight for funding, there's not going to be any money to do the work. And I was talking to Paula and Laura, and Paula was telling me how, you know, she's now doing two people's jobs. How many people in this room are doing two people's jobs, right? Are working harder than ever, right? And David was telling me, who's in IT, how we don't have the new equipment we need to do the work that we need for the state of New Hampshire to make it a better state. So we got to do all of these things. We have to fight at the workplace, and we have to connect it to the big picture. But again, some of the facts in terms of the economy and what it means for public service workers. 1 in 4 families in cities live in poverty. Do you know that the gap between the rich and the poor in the United States is much greater than it is in Egypt? How about that? And Diana's going to show you the Jon Stewart video later today, and you're going to see where the United States, the biggest industrial country in the world, ranks compared to the third world in terms of inequity of wealth. It's horrifying. You wouldn't believe that you were in America. There's 25 million Americans who who are looking for full-time, good-paying jobs. 14 million don't have jobs, and a bunch of them have jobs that aren't full-time, that can't support a family, and they need better jobs. In the public sector, what this crisis has meant is that we've lost 700,000 public service jobs since the last 2 years, since 2009, since the economy crashed. We are losing 34,000 public service jobs every month this year. That's a lot of public service work. That's a lot of services to communities that's not getting done. But the corporation, how are they doing? Pretty good, right? Let's look at Verizon. Verizon made $25 billion in profits over that same 2 period of time where public service workers were losing their jobs. Now, how much do you think they paid in taxes? Zero. They paid nothing. And what do you think, how much do you think they took out of those profits to create jobs? Zero. Not only that, they cut the workforce by 20%, right? So who's responsible and who's paying their fair share in this country? The wealth continues to get stockpiled at the top, and the number of workers and unions has been declining, and as a result in the private sector, and as a result, wages in the private sector are stagnant. They're back to where they were more than 10 years ago. Many private sector workers, and I know you have family members that are in this situation, don't have pensions or have lost their pensions. We all know the story of the airline workers, right? And then many of them are working in companies where if there is health care, they're not making enough to be able to pay for it, right? Because they have to pay for it. The employer's not paying for their health care. As public workers, we see the impact of what a low-wage, high unemployment economy does to communities, right? Because our members are the people that provide services. We're the people that are working in the social services offices, in the unemployment offices. We're helping seniors and we're helping families trying to survive in this terrible economy. And we are not getting the resources and the tools to be able to help people in our communities at a time when they need it more than ever. And here's the horrible thing. This is the most horrible thing, and the Reverend said it this morning. The people that caused the problem, that crashed this economy, are turning around and pointing the finger at us. And I don't mean us just workers, I mean public workers, right? And they're saying that we're the ones that, because of our wages and our benefits, that crash this economy. Is that crazy? Is that crazy? So corporate CEOs and right-wing politicians that they support have spent 30 years destroying unions for private sector workers. It is very hard, if you're a private sector worker, to organize in this country right now. People, it's not at 7% because people don't want unions or people don't need unions. It's because they're afraid. They're afraid every day on the job if they sign a card for a union, if they demonstrate for union support. These same people who have now destroyed unionization in the private sector have turned their sights on public workers and government. And their intention is to defund government. Their intention is to destroy public service unions because they want to make our wages, our benefits, the wedge that they're trying to use to drive between us and private sector workers, between us and non-union workers, right? And we can't let that happen. Our union has a plan. Diana's been talking about it all morning. It's called the Fight for a Fair Economy. We launched it because we have to educate people about what we do as public workers. We have to educate them that we are the middle class, and we want everybody to be brought up. We don't want everybody to be driven down, right? So the Fight for a Fair Economy is really about three big things that we're trying to do. One is the fights like in Wisconsin, in New Hampshire, and in Ohio. It's to stop trying to destroy public workers' collective bargaining. That's one part of the fight for a fair economy. And we're in those, as you know, we're here with you in New Hampshire. You've done an incredible job. We're giving as much support to you, but you are doing a great job, right? And we're in Ohio on November 8th. There will be an initiative to vote to repeal Senate Bill 5, which is the bill that takes away collective bargaining for public workers in Ohio. We're in that big time to try to stop that from happening. And Wisconsin, we won 2 out of the recall elections. Some people don't think that was good enough. We won in the hardest districts. No one would have ever thought anybody could win any of those races, and we won 2. So we're going to keep on working in Wisconsin. The second thing is that we know, and I had this conversation with David Rice this morning, we know that state budgets are in big trouble, and there's lots of reasons for that. Some of it is because corporations aren't paying their fair taxes. We also know we have to be managing taxpayers' money, because we want to be seen for the common good. We want to be seen for being responsible. And so we've launched pilot programs in 5 states where what we're doing is advocating for positive budget solutions. We're actually proposing cuts, but we think there's cuts that our members have come up with because they understand the work, right? And they're making those proposals with allies on how we could better manage the state budgets. We want to change the debate about public service workers and get people to understand what we do, because so much of the work that what we do is invisible.